Hello, friends, neighbors. John, your wish neighbor here. Welcome down to the Nook. It's Sunday, so I've got a couple of samples we're going to shoot. And today, I want to talk about American Single Malt. I haven't had a lot of bottles of American Single Malt recently. I would say a few years back, I was kind of getting into that Westland, Stranahan's, like some of the bigger names, but really starting to enjoy some American Single Malt. And I haven't had a lot lately. These samples come to me from Whiskey and Theo. Thank you so much. They're both out of Pennsylvania. He was highlighting some Pennsylvania whiskey. One is Red Brick and one is Manatawny, if I may say that right. So we'll get into this. We'll nose and taste. They're both barrel strength. I don't know if they're single barrels or not. I think they are. The Red Brick is for sure. I'm not sure about the Manatawny. But I'll share what I know or what I think I know online. You guys can correct me. But if you have any American Single Malt, specifically Red Brick or Manatawny, why don't you pour a little bit and come on back. 3, 4. Thanks for coming back. As I was saying, we're going to look at some American Single Malt. Both of these are from Pennsylvania. The first one is going to be Red Brick. It is a single malt, and this one I do have a barrel, so I believe it's a single barrel because it says batch 29, barrel 12, and it's 56%. 56%. So there's a lot of great color in this right off the bat. I really should have a white card to show you that, but it is dark. It's beyond copper. It almost, like, to me, if you just poured this and it almost looks like a sherry barrel in the sense of, like, there's some red to it, like a red dark coloring. Really impressive, actually, for a single barrel American single malt. I assume, though, that this one is just aged in new oak, so it must be heavy char. Maybe that's where some of the color comes from. I'm a little bit lost because I don't know the barreling exactly on this one. I see online they have a lot of different varieties, so I can't pick this one. I couldn't find barrel 12, batch 29, but if you know, we'll go in. We'll see what the nose and taste tells us. Interesting, because yeah, there's multi-character, but actually, boy, this nose to me would be a strong bourbon, which I don't usually get from American Single Malt. Usually I get, aggressive oaks, but I get that maltiness. This is caramel and toffee and vanilla, which I'm usually getting out of bourbons. Of course, if it's new oak, that's a good note from new oak. Certainly the vanilla. Okay, and there's a little bit of roasted note kind of in the far back of the nose. But I am surprised how sweet caramel vanilla forward the nose is on this single malt. Let's try it in the palate. Cheers. Very roasted malt in the palate. Absolutely. Now we are absolutely in malt. Slight roasted nut, walnut. Wow. Roasted espresso, coffee bean. Roasted. I know it's not wheat, but I've recently actually eaten roasted wheat. There's a story behind that, but it's reminding me of that. Just that toasted grain. Wow. I have to try another sip. Cheers. That really echoes the first. We've got barrel char, roasted grains, a little bit of maltiness, still some sweet vanilla, but savory roasted grains. Wow, like I'm chewing on that mouthful I had about a week ago of some roasted. That was wheat, but this isn't wheat. It is definitely malt. This is single malt, good oak, good flavor, tasty, but really like just that cooked coffee bean, slight walnut, and then if you've ever had it, a handful of just roasted grains. That was fun. Okay, our second American single malt here is Manatawny Stillworks. So they're also out of Pennsylvania. I believe it's Pottstown, and the red brick was Philadelphia. This is their double peat. So this one, I believe, has peated malt, but it's also finished in a peated cask. Could be an Ardbeg cask. I think it's young. Again, when you go online, they have many different releases. They have a peated that's finished in sherry, and that one ages 3 years in a reused cask and then is finished in a sherry's hogshead. This is not that. I believe this one is 2 years in new oak and then finished in that Ardbeg cask. The notes that Whiskey and Theo said, it's about 35 parts per million. So let's see what this peated American single malt is like. Smoky, mossy, almost briny on the nose. Yeah, it's actually a really nice interplay between sweetness, sweet, not quite honey, but some kind of confectionery sugar, like quite sweet. And then, as I said, that smoke, campfire, ash. And I said mossy because it also is a little bit earthy. Right now, that sweetness actually, like I said, honey, it's kind of come back into like almost like a maraschino cherry sweetness combined with that earthy note on the nose. Certainly draws me in. Let's try this peated American single malt on the palate. Cheers. We're at 60%. I think this one was 56. It's drinking younger. It's got a little bit more youth bite and hug going on. But it's got the impression of a lot of pepper from that youth as well, a lot of heat and spice. I really didn't get that on the red brick, but this is lighting up my palate. Like almost a heat, like not quite a sriracha heat, but like okay, my mouth is really like across the tongue, not just the sides where I get a lot of peppering. This is perky. It's a little hot, but lots of good peat. It's not a peat monster, 50 to beyond parts per million, but it is in the conversation right from the nose and in the palate. It's got that interplay between, I would say, some ash, some smolder, some older campfire. So a bit of, a little bit of tired leather, older leather, and then into that more earthiness as well. That, walking through the forest floor, a little bit of that. Better try another sip. Cheers. Very interesting. A little bit of, this one's all over the roasted notes, but there's a slight edge of unsweetened coffee in here. And I say that because there's that darker note, and yet I find the distillate is what I think I'm getting quite sweet. It really stands out as young for me. A lot of the peppering and heat and hugging really speaks into a 60% young distillate. It's hot, tasty, lots of good things going on. I'd love to have this rest for another 5 years because the flavors are good, but it is, for me, it's a little hot. This red brick out of the two, even though I love peat, it's actually singing a bit to me. This red brick is very interesting and different with those roasted grain notes. Just really, really exciting. Thanks for joining me here. Thanks, Whiskey and Theo, for the samples as always. I have been more than impressed. I think this is the last of the actual Pennsylvania. I think I got one more Jack Daniels you sent me. But really, I'm quite impressed. And as I hope one day to drive through all the states and check out all the distilleries, I now have a few places I'd like to check out when I hit Pennsylvania. Thanks for sharing with me. Thanks for coming down and joining me here in the Nook. If you've had Red Brick or Manatawny, why don't you share some of your experiences with their releases? If you've been there, if you visited them, I just love to hear a bit more beyond the Nook here. Thanks. You guys have a great week coming up.